So I'm just going to share a couple of examples from the UK where there has been a huge uptake of time banking in about the last 2 years, since we had a change of government about 2 years ago. Some of you may be familiar with the context of what's going on in the UK. It's fairly similar to the US right now, a big retreat of the state, an austerity package, which is cutting public spending a huge amount. And we've obviously traditionally had a much stronger welfare state than the US, and that is really being reined back. And this kind of crisis of state funding has really led to a lot of people to look to alternative strategies and how we might design and deliver services better. And there are a few innovations in time banking that I just wanted to touch upon here, because as I said, there has been a huge interest and there's a lot of investment at the moment, so there's a new momentum around it. One organisation in Camden is taking this hour-for-hour time bank model and applying it to an organisational level, so that the spare capacity and resources that sit within the not-for-profit sector, the local public sector, the private sector, can be harnessed and brought in and enable people to change their hour time credits, for example, for an hour's swimming at the local pool, a trip to the cinema at an off-peak time on a Wednesday afternoon, for example. And so that organisations can identify resources that they have that are underutilised. For example, we have a school bus, which we actually only use on Monday afternoons, and what we really need is meeting space. So if we can start to identify that spare capacity and pool it and begin to link it up with a time trading system, it enables us all to get access to a huge amount more resources. And you move from a model of deficit where we don't have a lot of money and we think that leads us with not very much, to a model of abundance where we can start to identify where there is spare capacity and bring it in. Another model which is being developed is called Hackney Shares. That's in an area of northeast London where I live. And they've started thinking about how they might link up local time banks. The time banking has always been very local and people often identify with it on a very kind of neighbourhood basis. But people move beyond that, and there are huge benefits to be able to take your time credits and trade them somewhere else outside your immediate locality. So they're setting up a network time bank model where you might have 10 to 15 local time banks, but they are linked together so that you can trade within them. So I could earn a time credit in my neighbourhood and go to the other side of the borough and spend it over there, which historically you weren't able to do. So keeping it local, but enabling you to link into resources on a national level. And more broadly speaking, there's a huge proliferation of time banking in the public sector. So in health agencies, in social care agencies, and housing agencies, people are starting to develop time banks as a way of transforming public services. We work with a huge number of practitioners, frontline people who work in the community and in public services, and they're starting to use time banking in really innovative ways. One housing co-op that we've worked with have taken the model and used it as a core part of their income. So they've now just published accounts where they've got 30% of their income in time credits, and they've used that to develop their websites, to run a lot of their comms and marketing activity. And I think they're starting to show how you can really take this idea of changing one time credit for time credit and turn it into a very viable business model in some cases for them as a way of operating and generating the kind of support that they want to for local people when funding is, as I said, increasingly retreating and becoming scarce. So that's just a few examples from the UK.